Hello and welcome back to the channel.
Today we're talking about public transportation while traveling.
Public transit can be one of the best ways to explore a new destination. It's affordable, efficient, and gives you a true local experience.
But figuring out how to use it can be a little overwhelming, especially in a foreign country.
In today's video, we're breaking down everything you need to know to confidently navigate public transportation anywhere in the world.
We'll give some example trips and learn how to chart a course together.
So let's get started. Welcome to World Wanderers.
We're Alicia and Will.
Come wander the world with us.
Before you even step foot in a new city, a little research goes a long way.
Here's what you should look up ahead of time.
First, what types of public transport are actually available there?
Some cities have buses, metros, trams, ferries, rideshare services, or even ways to get around that are totally unique to certain parts of the world.
Which are usually my favorite way.
Right.
You need to find out what options are available so you know what to look for or ask for.
Another thing to look up is how do you pay?
Yeah, for example, do you need to have a specific transport card, or can you use contactless payment? Or do you actually need to have cash available for the local currency?
Right, or look up if there's any apps that can help you navigate.
Yeah, like Google Maps or city location specific apps can be lifesavers here.
Right, have these apps downloaded and ready to go before leaving your home country, especially if you'll have slow or non-existent cell service or Wi-Fi.
What are the operating hours?
Right, that's another thing to know because some cities shut down public transport late at night. So plan accordingly if your flight is getting in late or if you plan on participating in the local nightlife.
Yeah, many cities will offer a transportation card that can save you time and money for their local public transit.
Right, for example, London has the Oyster card and New York has the Metro card.
These cards often come with discounted fares and unlimited ride options for tourists.
You can usually buy them at vending machines, convenience stores, or transport hubs.
And they sometimes might cost slightly more than paying per ride would based on how many rides you're taking. But we've oftentimes found the convenience to be worth it for the relatively small price difference.
Understanding maps and signs is key to getting around.
Metro and bus maps might look complicated at first, but once you get the hang of them, they make travel much easier.
Most Metro maps use colors and numbers for lines, so always match your route with the correct color and direction. For example, let's say you're in the middle of London at Piccadilly Circus and want to take the tube to King's Cross Station to see the Harry Potter platform 9 3/4. This is an easy one because it requires no change of train lines. So you'll walk into the Piccadilly Circus station and you'll see that this station has two different train lines running through it. There's the purple line, which is called Piccadilly, and the brown line called Bakerloo. We can see from the map that we want to take the purple line because that's the line that connects to the station we're at and the station we want to go to. We're going to count the dots and dashes which represent each station. The dots are stations where you can switch trains to a different line, and the dash represents a spot where you can just get on or off at a single train. So we'll see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stations to get to King's Cross. We know that we need to get on the purple line and ride 5 stops, but the last thing we need to figure out is what direction we need to go. For this, we're going to follow the line all the way to the end. We'll see that if we pass King's Cross and go all the way to the end of the map, the last stop is called Cockfosters. That means we need to find the platform that says Cockfosters and get on the purple train heading that way. If we see a purple train that has a screen showing Heathrow, we'll know that the train is going the opposite direction we want to go and is actually heading to the airport.
If you accidentally get on the train going the wrong way, it's not really the end of the world. We've definitely done it once or twice.
Right. Simply get off and wait for a train heading the opposite direction.
Now, for a slightly more complicated example, let's say you need to change train lines.
Yes. Let's say that again, we're starting in Piccadilly, but want to go to St. James Park. We're going to find that St. James Park is a station on the Green Line. So we need to find a station that overlaps where we can transfer from a color we have at our current station to a color where we're going. So if we look at the map, we can see that the brown line and the green line intersect at Embankment Station. So let's figure out how to get to Embankment first. We're going to take the brown line 1, 2 stops in the direction that ends at Elephant and Castle. Once we get off at Embankment, we'll then need to get on the green line. From Embankment, we can see that we need to ride 1, 2 stops to get to St. James Park. So when we get to embankment, we're going to look for the green line that's heading towards the end point labeled Richmond. And that's that. In a super complicated situation, you may need to do more than one transfer, but you'll follow the same process. And remember, if you get on the wrong train, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, just get off at any station, look at the map, which will tell you what station you're at, and then you can find a new line which will connect you to the station that you want to end up at.
I've also found people all over the world to be really friendly if you need to ask where a train is or which one you need to get on to go to XX station, for example.
And once you're on the train, listen for announcements which will narrate which stop is coming up and which one you're at.
And if you have a hard time understanding the language, counting the number of stops can be helpful in this situation.
This is an example showing a subway or metro, but buses and ferries work more or less the same way.
There might just not be quite as frequent or as on time as a train will be.
All right, so that's the old school way to figure out how to use public transit.
Now we have apps, which are a game changer.
Google Maps is probably the most widely used app, but a quick internet search for public transit apps at your destination will allow you to see if there's a local apps you can use, which may be more accurate, so I think it's worth cross-referencing. Like here in New Orleans, we use the RTA app.
These will give you step by step directions, real time updates, and even alternate routes. So, for example, let's say we're in New York City and want to go from Times Square to the World Trade Center Memorial. Open up Google Maps and search for World Trade Center Memorial. Then you're going to hit directions. It'll allow you to choose your starting point, which can either be from your current location or we can enter one manually, which is especially helpful if you're previewing the route in advance from home. So for this example, we'll enter Times Square. Then we're going to make sure the public transit option is selected. You'll see that you can either choose car, public transit, walking, biking, or rideshare. Since we want to take public transit, we'll select that. We can see that there's multiple different ways to get there, and some are faster, some have less transfers involved, and some have more walking involved. So select whichever combination looks the best to you. I'd probably pick the red one with no transfers and a 4-minute walk, which takes 23 minutes. It'll show your starting point and then tell you how long it takes to walk to the subway entrance. In this case, 3 minutes. If you click on the little map icon, it'll show you exactly where to enter the subway station. When you're done, swipe up and you'll see the line and direction you need to look for. In this case, we're getting on the red number 1 in the direction that heads towards South Ferry. It'll show the time the train leaves, which is 10:18 a.m., and when the next train leaves, in case you missed that one. We can see that another train is coming in 12 minutes and then 16 minutes as well. It'll then show you exactly how many stops to ride, which in this case is 12 stops and should take 16 minutes. If you hit the down arrow, it'll show each stop so you can follow along if you'd like. It also lists the stop you need to get off at and the estimated time of arrival. So we know that we'll need to get off at Rector Street, which should be at 10:34 a.m. Then, when exiting the subway, it'll again show you exactly which exit to leave from and where to walk to get to your destination. The dotted blue line is actual streets, and the dashed black line is cutting across parks or grass, basically saying just walk this way.
Google Maps works the same way for buses, cable cars, and other forms of public transit as well.
Instead of looking for a subway train, you'll just need to check the bus number and destination before boarding.
In some countries, you need to wave down the bus for it to stop. But if you're standing at the bus stop, they'll usually know to stop.
And always enter through the correct door. Some cities have different colored doors for entry and exit, so when in doubt, I'll try the front doors first.
Sometimes buses will have stop buttons or ropes that you pull to let the driver know that you want to get off the next stop. So keep an eye out for those because unlike trains, they won't necessarily stop at every stop.
Sometimes public transportation isn't an option and you might need to take a taxi or rideshare.
Whenever possible, we try to pick ride shares over taxis because they tend to be more affordable.
Always confirm the price before the ride if you're using a taxi, especially ones that don't have a meter.
Apps like Uber, Bolt, or Grab can be safer and more transparent than hailing a cab on the street.
Yeah, there are a ton of different rideshare options around the world, so do a quick Google search and make sure to download the appropriate one for your destination.
Public transport etiquette varies around the world, but here are some universal tips.
Always let the passengers exit before you enter.
Offer your seat to the elderly, pregnant women, or people with disabilities.
Avoid loud conversations or phone calls because many cultures prefer quiet travel.
And have your ticket or payment ready before boarding to avoid delays.
Sometimes things don't go as planned. There are strikes or delays, and getting lost happens.
Just stay calm and follow these steps.
Use your navigation app to find an alternate route.
If you're stuck, ask a local or transport employee for help. I've never been in a situation where someone was unwilling to help if we were able to communicate.
Right? As long as we spoke the same language, people have always helped us. But have a backup plan. Know a taxi number or alternative mode of transport, especially if you're getting dropped off in a remote place or trying to return super late in the day.
Using public transit can seem tricky at first, but with the right tips, it's an amazing way to explore a new city.
Have you ever had an interesting experience on public transport while traveling? Let us know in the comments.
Thanks so much for watching.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like so YouTube knows to recommend it to travelers like you.
And don't forget to subscribe to Wander the World with us.
Safe travels!